Iain Mansfield, Policy Exchange's Director of Research. Hello, Iain.
Hello.
It's going to be it's tough for George from now on, boycotting American goods and stuff. It's going to be quite a challenge for him, Iain, isn't it?
So I think, what George is speaking a lot of sense about how interwoven things are. I mean, there's no doubt that these tariffs, they're bad news for Britain. They're bad news for the world. Economically, this is going to be a major shock. But to get back to the question you posed at the beginning around Brexit, there's no doubt that we have been spared the worst of it because of Brexit. We're facing 10% tariffs instead of 20%. And perhaps even more significantly, because we can conduct an independent trade policy, there is the opportunity to try to negotiate to get those tariffs lower or even removed over the next year. So we're in a storm, no doubt about it. But you'd rather be in the boat that we're in.
Can I stop you there? For no other reason but to interject something. The EU charges an effective rate, according to Mr. Trump, on US imports of 39%. So he went with 50% of that, which seemed to be a kind of benchmark for him throughout that extraordinary press conference. So it's going to be 20% in response. Whereas he's imposed a 10% tariff on us because all goods imported from the UK to the US is a 10% tariff. Now, if it had worked by the formula he used for everyone else, it should be 5% for us, but it's not. So surely it's nothing to do with Brexit.
So no country got less than 10%.
But we should have on that formula that I'm talking about.
So I'm not defending his tariffs at all. No one got less than 10%. If we'd been in the EU...
Russia got zero, says George.
They did indeed in North Korea because they were already being sanctioned. But if we were already in the EU, we would have faced the same blanket tariff because they are a trading bloc, they're a customs union, they're a single market. So it's not that there is any necessarily sort of he didn't favor us. He also put 10% on Brazil and on various other countries. But the simple fact of us being outside means that we are facing better conditions or less bad conditions than we should say than if we were in. And the difference between 10% and 20% is thousands of jobs, perhaps tens of thousands of jobs.
They're saying that. The government is saying that, yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, they're correct on that. I mean, you would definitely rather be, I think we all accept on this call that the tariffs are going to cause difficulties and 20% are clearly worse than 10%. I mean, it's certainly not the benefit which we would have hoped for, but it is a benefit nonetheless to be spared the worst of this sort of global economic storm.
And Taiwan seemingly does not matter anymore, given the tariffs imposed on Taiwan. And if Taiwan does not matter anymore to the US, what are the geopolitical implications of that as China floats its boats around it?
Well, as you say, these tariffs seem to be applied by a fairly crude formula without sort of recourse to, who is an ally or who is not an ally. And that does mean that Asian countries like Japan, Taiwan, Vietnam are going to be badly hit. I think that would be a real concern if you're in those countries, and also for some American countries. So countries such as Nike, for example, which produces a lot of its product in Vietnam, is going to be hit with tariffs. These will not be straightforward.
And their shares have really gone down today by
they have exactly.
6%,
and I think
7%, yeah.
American companies will be hit by this as well. This is one area, economists haven't always covered themselves in glory if we think of the run-up to the financial crisis in 2008. But the idea that tariffs are generally bad is something which there's an extraordinary amount of consensus on.
Can you keep it?
Question?
Yes.
Can I ask a question about the US consumer? When they go down to Home Depot and they go to buy their telly and they want to buy a 92-inch Japanese TV and they find it's too expensive and they have to buy a rubbish American 48-inch telly instead, when is the American consumer going, wait a second, I don't like this, I like free and open markets?
What, they're going to cover the rest of the wall with as well?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
It's a good question, Iain.
So yeah, I mean, this is where it's likely to cause significant concerns. Most things that politicians do don't affect the ordinary citizen directly. Often things take a long time to feed through, but this has the potential to hit people straight away. Now, obviously, Trump would say that he's hoping to get lots more manufacturing in America and that this may compensate for it. But even if that is true, and I think there's some quite serious doubts about it, it wouldn't happen straight away. And the direct impact of tariffs is higher prices for consumers. I mean, it's one reason why the government is sort of rightly being quite cautious about retaliating, because actually if you do get in that sort of trade war, the sort of trade war that we saw after the Smoot-Hawley tariffs in the 30s, actually what happens is that consumers on both sides end up paying higher prices. It would be very emotionally satisfying for us to go out now and say, okay, right, we're going to whack tariffs up on American products. But actually, it would be people like the three of us who would end up paying a higher price for that. And much better to see if we can do some kind of independent trade deal with the US. Trump likes making deals. We have much to offer him here that would actually get those tariffs taken off. It may not be the most emotionally satisfying thing, but it would be the thing which would make life better for ordinary people here in this country.
Why would an American company build a TV factory or an automobile factory now, knowing that Trump can change his mind in a week? So there's no point spending 5 years building a factory to produce something where tariffs could be wiped away next week. Trump's hardly a reliable and consistent policymaker.
George, I'm going to take it to Iain in Largs, Peter in South East Kent, but I'm also going to say to you, George, could you keep us in touch with your moral mission not to buy anything American or with any connection to America over the next few weeks? Can we keep communications open? Yeah?
I will do. It's not moral. It's a point about being sensible and practical. Look, might I accidentally have something that's made half American? Of course I will do. Do vegans wear leather shoes? Sometimes. But I'm going to start today.
Dun, 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 dun. Thank you very much, George. You take care. American Express down 3.7%. We're hearing lots of companies taking hits on the stock exchange. Excellent contribution from George. Iain Mansfield there.